The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think he missed the complete. He's crazy.
Outside Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the picturesque Irish Hills of Brooklyn, Michigan, and to the virtual Michigan International Speedway, the host for round number 8 for the Season 3 Championship of the LionHeart IndyCar Series on GSRC, iRacing's premier American Open Wheel Championship on iRacing. This is the Autism Awareness 200 at MIS. We welcome you, as always, into our virtual Global Sim Racing Channel broadcast booth, joined alongside by my partner in crime, Sean Ambrose. My name is Evan Pizzoco. Thank you so much for tuning in with us this evening. I'm Jed Yamet, active director on the evening, pushing the buttons and getting us on air. Camera sets as well are also provided by Dougie Beard, giving you the best angles on the action tonight. Sean, turn to you first. It sounds like quite an interesting race we're going to be seeing here at Michigan. It's a 2-mile D-shaped oval. Action's a big word that I want to talk about tonight. It can be good action. It can be bad action. There's a lot of racing surface. There's a lot of space for guys to try things that may not be the smartest decisions. They'll have 200 miles, though, to work it out.
They will have 200 miles to sort it out. And I got to tell you, man, try not to close your eyes on this one, folks. The drivers may want to keep them open, too. We're going to see 3 wide, 4 wide, 5 wide. Who knows? We might even see 6 wide down the backstretch, guys, defending positions here all night. Make no mistake, the push is real here. The dynamic track is working. The cars are getting awful squirrely. It's over 100 degrees on track right now, 104 when I checked a little while ago here. And, folks, Big Joe Hassard's calling his shot tonight. The Season 3 official fixed winner in iRacing, the champion for Season 3. He's calling his shot. He's looking for a big win tonight. He won last night. Big Joe looks to be a factor tonight. Throttle management and staying off these walls is going to be a big priority tonight to get it done, Evan. It's going to be, it's going to be one heck of a race.
We expect Michigan to be exciting. Michigan very much close in resemblance to the Auto Club Speedway, the host of what was the first broadcast with the GSRC with the LionHeart IndyCar Series, as well has been the site to the season finale for 2 years running. It's a 2-mile D-shaped oval banking at 18 degrees, but unlike 18 degrees that you would see on a place like an intermediate, like some of the smaller oval tracks that we've gone to so far, it is a very wide racetrack, a lot of room for these drivers to work with. This racetrack located in Brooklyn, Michigan, capacity crowd of 72,000 race fans can pack in here on any given weekend. It's owned and operated by the International Speedway Corporation and opened back in 1968. Plays host now to NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, Xfinity Camping World Truck Series action, as well as the ARCA Racing Series, but does have a relatively full history of open wheel racing at Michigan. It's going to play a vital stepping stone in the Season 3 Championship with the LionHeart IndyCar Series on GSRC. We look at the points coming into round number 8. In just one race after tonight, in 2 weeks' time, we'll go and race the Indianapolis 500. At that point, we are halfway home. Here's the points as they stack up to this point in the season, John. It is the number Jake Wright machine up in the number 1 spot right now. 7 starts. He's got 7 points through all of them. 1 win, 2 poles, one of the most consistent drivers all year. 3 top 5, 6 top 10s to accumulate 276 points. You take a look at him right now as the drivers hit the track for qualifying 24th. He's going to look to improve on that as he puts down a hot lap now, but after that, nobody any close to how fast that driver's been. Next closest man's Joe Hassard, who's 85 points back.
Yeah, and like I said, Big Joe looking to really make a move tonight in those points. He's going to need a little bit of luck and maybe hope his teammate finds his way towards the back of the field before the end of the night. But Big Joe can do it, man. He's going to be fast. We look at the Unacceptable Racing team, Ricky Harden and James Grahula, all right up there in the hunt. Pretty good showing for those guys this season. The championship is just alive with names, new names from the past. Alan Bowes sitting right there in 7th right now, and Joe Branch up there in 5th. He came up 2 spots after that race last week. So excitement going on, and man, we like you said, we're getting to that halfway point. Still early days in this championship race, but you are starting to see some separation in the points race. When you do look at that 85 point deficit that Big Joe's got right now, Jake is certainly showing the way this season as being the rock of consistency here in the LionHeart Racing Series.
And it looks like the grid going to be right at or around 30 drivers for this event. Just 2 minutes left in the closed 5-minute, 2-lap single-car qualifier session. If you weren't with us 1 week ago, the drivers took on Barber Motorsports Park for the first time in LionHeart IndyCar Series debut history. For the team nailed at 90. Round 7 of the LionHeart IndyCar Series took to the twisty turns of Barber Motorsports Park, that racetrack located in Birmingham, Alabama. And the inaugural team nailed at 90 proved a worthy challenge for the best open-wheel racing drivers on the sim. But when the smoke cleared, it was the defending series champion Jesse Vincent proving that experience trumped all. He picked up his first win on the season in just his second start. Sean, that was a big story because he had only made 1 start prior. It was at Pocono, and his back problems forced him to retire from that one early. That is a driver that a lot of guys, to an extent, may be thankful that they don't have to go against, because we know that he's good, and that tells us that we are not going to have a repeat winner. We may see a first-time champion this season.
We might. Jesse's certainly got a long road to come back. I'm going to have to say at this point, we've got to look forward to seeing what he can do in Season 4. But the good news is all that skill, all that experience finds himself up in race control tonight. And be good to have that eye in the sky, that experience up there. So, yeah, it's I'm sure it's a sigh of relief for most of these guys that Jesse is probably not going to make a real run at it this season. But again, seeing these new faces up here, Jake Wright, we saw him late last season. He came in as kind of trial basis, and we saw him fast from the get-go. So not much of a surprise to see him up front. But, man, I certainly look for guys like Big Joe and even Ricky Harden, Daniel Roper. All those guys are really close in points. They're going to make a run at this. Pierre Deigel, we can't forget about him. These guys are going to make a run at it. Nothing is safe here at this point.
As always, we look at the drivers doing the Wednesday night doubleheader on GSRC. Both Tommy Rahn and Ricky Harden already competing in and completing the American Sim Racing Series AMSOIL Truck Series event from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Rahn with a 2nd, Harden with a 4th. They look to get some good results here tonight in the LionHeart IndyCar Series, much as they did 1 week ago when all of the drivers do the double finish top 10 in the trucks. Couple of drivers that you're not going to see on the grid. Taking a look at him, Mikel de Jong not here tonight. He is serving a penalty along with Rick Music. Both of those drivers on a 1-week penalty. Dan Roper, Terry Matheson, and Alan Bowes not able to make the grid. Those are some of the major names you won't see. Those that you will, though, are hitting the front straightaway. Let's rack them and stack them, let you know where they will line up. Let's take a look at the GSRC starting grid for the Autism Awareness 200 at Michigan. Pole position, how about the number 42, Tony Lurcock, a 32.436. Just that about a time to do 2 miles, put him on pole position. Alongside him in 2nd, you'll find the 08 car back on track tonight, fastest car in practice. That's Jonathan Goke. Joe Branch will roll for the inside of row 2 in 3rd. Alongside him is going to be the number 12 of Jason M. Galvin in 4th. Joe Hassert will start this race from 5th, and then rounding out your top 6 is going to be the 6th. That's George Anzaldo.
Okay, and starting in 7th in the team nailed it onboard camera there, Ian Adams. In 8th, Pierre Deigel. And he's going to go off in that Monster Energy machine onboard camera with him tonight as well. Those two side by side to start it. Jack Bogan makes his return tonight, starting 9th on the inside there. Nice qualifying run for him. In 10th, just outside of him, Mark Goodwin. In 11th, our buddy, the Sinclair Tractors machine, number 8, Dan Guerin. And in 12th, on the outside, the number 79 of Jason Robarge.
Whether it'll be good news or bad news, 13 on the grid goes to the driver of the two. That's Corey Connor. Outside on him going to be the 92 of Chris Lanini in 12th. Tony Schoen will start this race in the 15th spot. Outside on row number 8 and 16th going to be the 4 of James Krahula. Then Ricky Harden's 05 will roll from 17th. Big improvement after being 26th in practice to start this race in 17th. And a big drop for your third fastest car in practice. The 7 of Chris Stouffer starts from 18th.
All right, starting 19th tonight, Ronald Hacker in the number 102. In the number 34, starting on the outside. In 20th, Howard Livingston. Robert Blewin, number 48. He'll start 21st tonight. And outside of him in the Dirty Blinds, Delara, DW12. Number 16, Peter Edwins. Vincent Blumenthal in the number 72. He'll start 23rd. Michael Gray in the 888. He will start 24th tonight, Evan.
And Gray electing to start from the pit lane, not going to be with the drivers on the grid. Tommy Ryan going to be 25th, 26th is Chris Nelson, Alfred D. Shepard 27, 28th to Mark Nobert, Jake Wright back in 29th. And it will round out your 29-car field. A couple of drivers will be on board with tonight. The Big Joe Cam on board camera, nonetheless going to be on board with the driver of the number 11 machine, Joe Hassert, as he starts from 5th position. We'll ride on board with the alltravelsizes.com on board camera. Tony Lurcock going to be carrying us around for his ride. The Team Nailed It on board camera going to be riding with Ian Adams tonight. The Monster Energy on board camera as well going to be on board Pierre Daigel's machine for the remainder and endurance of this event. The field is pacing now through quarters number 3 and 4, getting set to dive down to the safe haven of Pit Road, and this one might just be really, really fun. The pace car going to get down and out of the way. Field in the hands of the 42 of Tony Lurcock. Going to bring us to the green flag and get round number 8 on the championship underway. He'll put the power down. Green flag flies and underway we go at Michigan. The autism awareness 200 at MIS is green. Lurcock the advantage down to turn 1. That's about the only place that it's calm through the entire field as they get up to speed.
Man, looking back through the field here, pretty good start so far. Everybody making their way through two. Pretty clean, little side-by-side racing going. But right now, they're all kind of settling in and starting to shuffle around and really just find a partner to work with right now.
Race lead was clear second already. A fight now coming out of quarter number 4 and a challenge for the race lead to the outside on the racetrack, side by side at the line. How about trying to get the job done? The 28 of Joe Branch not going to be able to do it though. Big run behind the car. When you jump out of line though, you've hit a wall of air and it's going to be Goke on the inside maintaining the lead down the back straightaway. To the outside though, Joe Branch again trying to challenge. He'll get a half car length before having to fall back in line. Meanwhile, your pole sitter Tony Lurcock falling down the standings, trying to hang on to 4th.
Oh, a little trouble there on the inside. Looks like Krahula has just a little bit of trouble there in the Richardson Bike Barn machine. Him and Tony Schoen almost got into it there, and Krahula's got Ricky Harden, his teammate, right up there behind, upside him there. Those two battling for 17th and 16th place right now, Evan.
Battling in 16th position, and you saw down this shot here on the long back straightaway, you see a couple of cars single file middle of your screen, and then some of that side-by-side fighting that we were talking about a little bit further back. The middle part of the racetrack relatively calm, things up front relatively exciting. Joe Branch going to get the job done. Johnny goes to the race lead, but this is going to be a common theme throughout the night, is that he's on the inside of the racetrack, and once you get there, not much is going to happen as far as being able to relatively contain that position, because right back to the outside goes Joe Hassert in that number 11 car. Up against the outside wall, wants to challenge for the race lead. Goke as well had a big run. He'll check up and think about what he wants to do from that Pepsi machine in 3rd.
Man, tough break for the 888 of Michael Gray. He has disconnected. He's just reconnected, but he's already 3 laps down. Tough break for Michael Gray to get started tonight, and he's going to have to battle from all those laps down. Great racing going on throughout the field. Really, these guys aren't letting themselves get away from each other. This is really, really close racing on this 2-mile circuit right now. Nobody has really lost the field, as they say. There's some really good drafting going on out there right now, Evan.
And that's a big part of this race. You mentioned in the race notes, the one thing that I contributed to that was don't close your eyes. And you were talking about the push. Well, the push it's a very interesting way that Michigan's working because you need the draft to make passes. That's the biggest thing that's going to let you win the race. Of course, that's one of the biggest things that's going to hurt you if you don't know how to work that draft. Plus, these tight cars are going to get loose as the run goes on. You need to know your race car if you're to be successful here, and no surprise that it's Joe Branch up front, though, but a great run for Branch and Joe Hassert. So two Joes right now, P1 and P2. Branch was only 13th in practice, and Hassert was 10th. They run 1-2 right now across the start-finish line, put lap 6 in the books.
Looks like we've just gone on board here with the Big Joe cam. Working with Big Joe right now, man. He is right now just fighting, but not trying to fight too hard. Just really early days. Still a long way to go, but Joe's up top right now, getting a little help from behind. Looking pretty good there going into turn 3. Can he get in front of him? Maybe not. He's going to get a nice run off the top there. And it's going to be a drag race to the line, Evan. And Joe can't pull it off, but like I said, he's got Goat right behind him there. A little bit of help. Goat getting quite a run on him right now as they head into turn 1. Goat had to get out of that a little bit. He was heading straight for that concrete. Wouldn't have been any fun. And here comes Big Joe to the inside, looking pretty good, Evan, as they head down the back stretch.
About the only way you're going to get the job done is if you get to the inside. That's what Joe Branch had to do to get around at-time race leader Tony Lurcock. Now the same thing going to happen to him and Joe Hassert this time by the start-finish line. Going to take over the race lead. How about to the inside goes Branch, and thinking about the top side for Jonathan Goke. That door, though, will remain shut as the 28 machine goes back to the top spot, and the 11 rides the outside retaining wall all the way down to turn 1. Top 3, Sean, starting to pull away, and it looks like they're just giving up on blocking the inside. You can ride the inside. It's a good way to defend the race lead, but you're going to hurt those tires much sooner than if you make a nice progressive arc, and it looks like no real attempt from Joe Branch there to force the issue. He'll stay up high, ride his own line. Joe Hassert technically never loses the lead lap on that one as he led the last time by, and this time by, back to the top spot in 1.
Hey, you know, we heard it Saturday night in the Bootleg Modified Series, Evan. You don't want to make that right rear angry. You do not want to do that here on these cars because, brother, yeah, good luck hanging on to it, man. We're going to see that as this race develops and this dynamic track starts to take effect here. These cars are going to get really squirrely, and I think that the racing won't be quite as tight as you're seeing right now. Guys are going to have to give a little bit as we get into the deeper stages of this race. But right now, we're seeing a really fast one up front, man. These guys are hauling 226 miles an hour down the front stretch.
And those speeds are only going to continue to go up and up as the night goes on. How about a big mover in this one? The 2 car of Corey Connor in 5th right now. And he'll fall to 6th. To the inside goes Jason Galvin, and Galvin in the number 12 car. Down to the white line, slides up a little bit, gets clear, not going to be able to hold it, though, as that car gets tight. You go on board with Ian Adams just behind all of that. You ride with that Team Nailed It onboard camera, and Adams going to not only follow Corey Connor through up top, but thinks about trying to put a move on the 2 in his own right. Looks to the outside, not going to happen that time. Reason to mention Corey Connor, Sean, that driver already up 8 spots from his slot on grid.
Yeah, Corey having a pretty good run. I'm back here watching George Anzalo right now. He's fighting off James Krahula, man. Krahula's had a run on him a couple of times here, and just this last lap hasn't been able to quite pull it off. Looks like they got row bars right behind him. They're going to have to watch out for him. This is going to get pretty dicey real quick. This race here for 11th place is developing right now.
Things really starting to string out. Talk about how the top 3 had pulled away. Well, now they're getting separation in between each other. Typically, you'll see the race leaders try to get a little bit of a gap. Might take 5, 6, 7 laps here, though. Took about 11 laps, and the lucky man at the point when everybody started to get some room on each other was the 11 of Joe Branch right now. In 2nd, Joe Hassert taking over the top spot from 5th on the grid. Pretty impressive climb up 4 spots as well to lead this race. 14 laps through. Pretty good fight for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Tightly packed together. Branch leads in front of Goke, in front of Lurcock. Nobody in a position to make move on each other quite yet. We go on board with that 42 of Tony Lurcock. You ride on with the old TravelSizes.com onboard camera as he looks up in front of him. Goke going to get real tight into the outside. He'll make a move.
Can he pull it off, though? Has he got enough up there to do it? I don't know if he's going to be able to pull it off. He's got a little bit of help now, but man, Joe is just really stretching out right now. Hey man, I told you Joe is hungry. I talked to Joe this afternoon, and we hung out for a few minutes, and he was real excited about this one tonight. So I don't know, man. It might be hard to catch up to Big Joe Hasser tonight. I think there's a little extra motivation for him to win tonight. A little bit of a chip on his shoulder, even maybe.
Hey, talk about the points so far this way through the season. Joe Branch has not, Joe Branch right now in second has been running much better than, what you would expect to see out of Joe Hazard, who leads this race right now. I think a chip on his shoulder, a very good analogy, because we have not seen the speed out of that 11 that we had seen, in prior seasons. And not only what I guess we expect to see out of him, but as well, definitely what he expects to see out of himself. And he continues to pad the gap. Now 9/10 of a second in front, continuing to pull away. A couple of drivers that have been fighting for a few laps here. Ian Adams, Corey Connor, they can't get away from each other. The fight for P5 continues to rage on, that time by the start-finish line. You can see that tiger print car in front, P5 for Connor. He goes to the outside, it's to the inside for the GoPro. Be a hero, number 3 of Ian Adams. Adams will get clear, slide high, Connor back to the inside. This has been happening for about the last 5 laps.
Now, I talked about Anzaldo here just a little bit ago. He's got Krahula following him, but George has just cracked the top 10. Okay, he's got by Galvin, working his way around him now. And he's got Bogan right up in front of him here. George looking to, right now, 9th place. Going to try and take away 8th from Bogan here in just a moment. George on a heck of a run right now after losing spots early. Anzaldo is making a comeback, and James Krahula finds himself up in that mix too.
And that fight just outside of the top 10, Jason Galvin in the number 12 machine was up front battling for the race lead in the opening lap. Sean, he has plummeted, though, from 4th on the grid to 11th on the scoring pylon right now, and he's trying to hold off James Krahula, who's trying to improve on a very good night so far, complete the double and try to get a good finish in and through all of that right now. Sits right now in 12th. Krahula himself up 4 spots from where he sat on the grid. But so far the biggest movers still remain as Corey Connor, Ip and P5. But behind him, the Sinclair Tractors machine, Dan Guerin, another name, up 4 spots right now. He's trying to hold off Pierre Deigel. Pierre's been relatively quiet. Sean started 8th, sits 8th right now. He wants to pick 1 spot up, though. Way high goes the 8 car, and he'll get an inside spot down at a 4.
And we see that rivalry right there between Team Nailed It and No Name Racing going at it early. Pierre Deigel wants that spot. He is ready. Deigel on board with that Monster Energy camera right now. He's looking out his visor there, and he's got a wing full of Dan Guerin. Can't seem to quite pull off the move yet, but I think maybe just being a little patient. I know Pierre at some point is going to want to try and save a little bit of fuel. He looks to maybe go deeper into the run than anybody else. As we've said in the past, Pierre is one to maybe keep something up his sleeve every now and then. So watch out for him. He's almost made a little contact there with Dan Guerin.
Nobody has fallen off at a lead lap that started on the grid. It's been a very clean opening to the Autism Awareness 200 at MIS. The only driver to retire so far, Michael Gray, and it's not by his own free will. Shaw to mention that he qualified 24th, but had elected to start from pit road. Sometimes guys will do that as a strategic call to maybe avoid what could be a big early race incident. However, he's been struggling with connection issues and is disconnected from the sim twice. Does not appear to be coming back. Looks like he'll have to settle for a 29th shotgun on the field out of the 29 drivers that started this one. How about a melee? Look at this, 22nd on back, 21st on back almost. Vincent Bluthenthal trying to hold on to a hornet's nest. These drivers 13 seconds back from the race leader, and it's about 7 of them all on top of each other.
Yeah, that is quite a wicked race going on back there, Evan. We spent so much time talking about these guys up front. Hate to get away from a real race that's going on here right now. Bluthenthal right there, really close, almost contact there made with Mark Goodwin, really close there as they come down the front stretch. Both cars showing excellent speed right now. They carried 225 into the turn. These cars aren't off pace. They just lost contact with that big group up front, and you know what? We're getting ready to hit pit stops, so anything can happen as long as you play your strategy right. This has been a great start to this race. Don't want to jinx anything. But yeah, we're going to be talking about pit stops for most of these teams in about 4 to 5 laps, Evan.
And it really is interesting because you look at it right now, and Sean, it feels kind of spread out like you'd see at a NASCAR race at a plate track. And, you know, we don't have groups, we don't have bump drafting, but there are packs of cars. Talked about how the top three were together. They have now spread out, but that pack of 6, 7 cars at the back of the field, you get a pack of P12 through 17, separated by just 1.5 seconds. Those include the drivers of Chris Lanini, James Grahula, Chris Stouffer, Tony Schoen, Jason Robarch, Ricky Harden. They're in a pack in the middle of the racetrack as you look at them come out of quarter number 4. Couple of cars close together in front of them, just outside the top 10, and Zaldo, Stouffer, and Lanini again. So there's sets of cars here and there, which means that you can't let your guard down. You do want to kind of, unclench the arms and just ride a little bit, get some laps logged over this thing, not done anytime soon. And now pit stop's going to get kicked off at lap 25, and your race leader, Joe Hassert, comes down, the first of them all for service, right at quarter distance.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. Didn't mean to step on you there. Wasn't sure if you'd seen it, but yeah, Big Joe makes the call, and a lot of your leaders follow right behind him, say, okay, I'm going in with this guy. He's fast. I know it. I want to stay with him, as close to him as I can. I'll maybe work that strategy Big Joe Hassert's working, as we see Robarch get by him there into the pit lane, and Hassert getting all 4 and a lot of fuel. Fill her up, and out of the pit box he goes.
And the good news for him is he had a gap because he overshot that stall a little bit. It's going to be Jonathan Goke who stays out to the race lead. He comes in this time by, and this pit strategy, for those like me, going to make things very easy for everybody to tune it in because you pit right at quarter distance. You got 2 stops to go if this thing stays green to race it on through to the checkered flag. This will put Corey Connor to the top spot. They come in waves, and I don't expect this cycle of green flag pit stops to really last that much longer. Corey Connor, though, not going to come down this time by. He stays out, and you can see fresh tires, that much of an advantage for Joe Hassert. He'll get his lead lap back the old-fashioned way to the outside.
Yeah, like you just said, the old-fashioned way. Made a mistake there in the pits. That was actually Lurcock that got in around Hassert just before Hassert went out. And Lurcock gets back on the track. He cycles himself back into, well, not quite yet. This time around, I think he will cycle back into the lead lap and be right there with Big Joe Hassert. So Corey Connor is now making his way in the pits. He's made the call. Time to bring her in and get her filled up and get those fresh Firestones.
And why not give yourself an extra lap or 2 of insurance? Behind him comes Jason Galvin and Zaldo Schoen, Jake Wright company as well. Joe Branch just now exiting. Almost everybody else coming down to the pit lane this time by, and that would wrap things up on green flag service. Look to the drivers, though, that are going to cycle to the front of this field that I had mentioned, that Joe Hassert had some problems coming into his stall. He overshot it just a little bit. You look at the driver out of No Name Racing's camp right now. He is scored in 4th. Should be back to one of the top spots the next time by. But look at the driver in front of him. You see a blue machine. Well, that's the Pepsi. Number 08 Jonathan Goke came in from 2nd. Did not overshoot his pit stall, and that's how you get the race lead.
Big Joe gaining on him quick, though. Joe really closing the gap here. Joe's got that car really handling well. I think Joe found the special line, and I think he's working it really well tonight. Car just looks faster as we go on board with the Big Joe cam right now. You'll see him get this run on Goke right now. He is he's not wasting much time getting to him. That mistake in the pits hasn't seemed to cost him. Does a really good job right there of avoiding the push and tightening up that car as he came off the turn right there. He really needed that. Still running so well behind Goke right now. Car not showing any push even there, right? Just a beautiful run off the turn right there. These guys are having a really good race right now. This is your race for the lead, folks. Jonathan Goke.
And to the inside goes Joe Hassert. He'll get the spot down in 1 and 2. And Goke on the outside of the racetrack going to have to fall back to 2nd. He wants to challenge again, and he will do so. So back side by side, down the back for the race leading again. Joe knows that he has to do this now, though, because we saw in those opening 10 laps, you could swap out a position with somebody 3-4 times a lap, but after 15 laps on those tires, you couldn't do so. The car was starting to get tight. It was pushing up the hill. You couldn't get to somebody. Joe Hassert knows that he wants to be in front before things start to spread out again. How about trying the outside that time in 1 and 2?
Joe Branch fighting with Dan Guerin right now. Joe Branch takes that spot away from Dan Guerin. He's going to move up to 5th. Nice, nice job. I'm sorry, he's going to move up to 6th, but really good job. And oh, here comes Guerin. He's coming back now. Look at this, Evan. What a race between these two, just back and forth, back and forth.
One driver makes the pass down low, they slide high, and they swap it out yet again. The leaders, though, continue to fight as they have for the last 3 laps in a row, and this time it's Goke to the outside, and Hasser with the inside position. He'll make the pass yet again, go back to the top spot. The 08 not going to sit down and roll over. He goes back to the bottom of the racetrack. This is exactly what we saw at the start of this race, and at any point you get clear on somebody, their car gets tight. Once they have to make that first big lift, you gain a huge advantage. Look how close Goke got to the wall that time by. You know he's pushing it, trying to get away.
Man, you just can't catch your breath right now with what these guys are doing. I'm running through the field here trying to find some other battles. And you know, honestly, right now I'm watching Chris Lanini. He's got a fast hot ride now. Right now, working on the back of George Unzalo. He's got Tommy Ryan right behind him. Nice 3-car battle right now. Those two looking at, those 3 looking to make it 3 wide possibly as they start to bunch up a little bit there. Tight racing going on for 13th, 14th, and 15th place right now.
And Goke back to the outside. The leaders just don't want to settle down, and surprised because you think if they continue to do this, as we look at them cycle out of 4, that it would slow them down. Well, Tony Lurcock sits in 3rd right now. Shout out to the driver of the 42. Started on pole, fell back early, is making a good resurgence right now for the driver with oldtravelsizes.com sponsoring him tonight. He's in 3rd, 1.4 seconds back, so he's not making up any time on them, but a good improvement after falling nearly to the latter stages of the top 10 to be able to maintain that podium running spot as of now. Not sure how much of a factor it is going to be, Sean, but the race leaders now closing in on some lap traffic. They'll have to find their way around Kristen Nelson. Nelson, the last driver on the lead lap in P26. That could be an opportunity for somebody to try to make a move and use that lap machine as a pick, albeit, though, there's a whole lot of racetrack to work with.
Okay, Evan, so I want to talk about somebody real quick. Somehow we've lost sight of this, and I'm not sure what's going on. Jake Wright finds himself all the way back in 27th place. Our championship leader is in 27th place. He's a lap down. Now, he pitted, I think, lap 28, just about the same time as everybody else. Looking at his times here, I'm not sure exactly what's happened, Evan. He's fallen off the pace, and maybe he got into a wall or something and we missed it, but really not looking good for Jake right now. Again, a lap down and just seems to be off pace right now.
He's in a tough spot. Last time by, his lap time 1/10 of a second quicker than your race leaders, albeit he is in traffic. But the problem is he's 1 lap down, as you said. There's no caution and get the lucky dog. That's not a thing in IndyCar racing. So he needs to have a green flag pit stop begin, stay out, get a caution. That's the only way he can get back to the lead lap. But the reason he's down there, Sean, he started 29th. Something really bad on that qualifying lap. But I think you said he came down pit road at lap number 28. We saw that Corey Connor came down pit road lap 28. He lost 1 second to Jonathan Goke, who stayed out 1 additional lap, went to the race lead in front of Joe Hassert. So that could have as well attributed to losing some time, plus being at the back of the pack, depending on how clean his pit stop was as well. Your championship leader definitely in a bad spot, and we're now hearing that he did overshoot that pit stall, Sean, so that explains that loss of time. And we had said into tonight, nobody had been as consistent as him. Round 8 might be that first mulligan we're looking at.
Yeah, it might have to be. What a shame. Tough break for him, but hey, lots of other guys battling and having really good runs. We talked about Krahula before. He's up to 9th. Deigel, he's in 8th right now. Really good stuff. Dan Guerin's got it up to 7th. So a lot of your guys fighting for the championship right now are in the top 10. Joe Branch sitting in 5th. Corey Connor 4th right now. Your championship contenders are right where they want to be here in the early stages of this race. Jack Bogan having a pretty good run. He started 9th, back to 16th right now. But hey, listen, he's only 13 seconds off the leader, and that's not too bad considering this has been a green flag run through 40 laps of this race, Evan.
And that is great news for Joe Hassert, because Hassert gets clear And now it is Jonathan Goke who begins to slip and fall from the top spot. You see that gap into 3. They broke up. The first big lift came from the 08 machine, and the 11 yet again will dictate the pace of this race. That still leaves Tony Lurcock in 3rd with nobody around him really. He's clear to the leaders, back by 1.5 seconds, and he's good by 2 seconds to the fight for 4th, which right now one of the best fights on the racetrack. Joe Branch chasing Connor, Dan Guerin, Ian Adams right on each other's gearboxes. They head down through corners number 1 and 2. Also, you could throw some of the other guys in that mix as well, but 4 cars within 1.5 seconds trying to fight for 4th. However, it looks like they are starting to spread themselves out at lap 42 of 100.
Crahula in a pretty good fight with Jake Wright right now. Tell you what, Jake's certainly not giving up. Actually, the car looks good. No damage on Jake Wright's machine, so really just a loss of time that he's fighting right now. But him and Crahula going wheel to wheel there for a second, and I got to tell you, that was pretty nervous for me there. I really thought, well, let's just say I'm glad there wasn't any net code, and we'll go into that later if we need to, but we won't bother with it now. We've got some great racing going on out here.
Still 25 drivers on the lead lap. Your lead lap cars did get around Chris Nelson, so the 25 follows 1 lap to the negative. Bad news for Jake Wright if he's hoping to get a lucky caution at a lucky time. Reigns in 27th, but now the second car, 1 lap to the negative. Mark Goodwin would be the next driver in risk. Haven't really said his name all that much tonight, Sean, but it's not been a good night for the 105. 27th in practice, a great qualifying lap of a 32.481 to get a top 10 spot on the grid. Has since fallen to 15 spots, and it's only about a second in front of an impending number 11 machine, Big Joe Hassert, who will be putting him a lap down momentarily. Can't just compete with the race lead and the strength of those lead lappers. How about this, though? Hassert losing 0.4 of a second in 1 lap. Goke now right back at him.
Yeah, and hey, you know, I mean, let's face it. This has been a really long green flag run. I don't think these guys had as much success practicing this long of a run, and you know, there are a lot of factors that go into that. The car is starting to free up a little bit. We're getting that rubber laid down, and as you start to run up the track there close to the wall like Joe's doing, you know, you loosen that car up a little bit, you scuff off a little speed, and you give a guy like Goke a chance to close the gap a bit. And Joe going to try and take advantage of the car in front of him here to Mark Goodwin there to try and pick up a little speed, maybe use him as a bit of a pick here as they go through the turn. He's able to pull that off, and there you go. He's opened a distance again between him and Goke.
And Hassert's on the outside of the racetrack working around Mark Goodwin. Goodwin thinking about keeping a nose there down to turn 1. He won't do so. He'll jump back up in line, and that's a close call for the 08 machine trying to get through. Goodwin can actually stay down low. He'll get tight, and that'll slow down Jonathan Goke very momentarily as Goodwin way down to the white line. Johnny was pushing up to the fence and really just wanted to get out of the way of that 08 machine. He does so successfully. Goke remains in second. No harm, no foul there at this point. But again, Hassert going to gain some time. Real close, though, to the turn 4 fence that time by. Just about 3 laps shy of halfway, and that means not all that far away from another trip down to the pit lane just after things now getting settled out.
I think Mark Goodwin had a handful of wheel, buddy. He had to cut that thing as hard to the left as he could. Tommy Ryan right now fighting here. He's on the outside. Got a car below him right there, trying to see who that is. Tommy Ryan, Chris Lanini's having a nice battle right back here for 13th and 14th place right now. Ryan looking to make a move to the inside. Is he going to do it? Nah, he's going to settle in, going to run up the track just a little bit, look for a run off the top. Don't think he's going to get it right here. Yeah, maybe just a little bit. Not a bad run off the top of the track right there. And to the inside, there he goes. Tommy Ryan taking that position from Lanini.
And he'll slot up to 13th position. Around 2 falls to 14th right now. That puts Ryan up 12 spots from the start of the race. However, real tight coming out of 2. Big check up off the accelerator. And much an easier job that time getting through for Chris Lanini to then take that spot back. The battle for 13th and 14th continues. Now 12 seconds behind your race leader. Fight for third, not much at the moment. Corey Connor not all that far in front, though, of Joe Branch. Branch really fell off before that first cycle of green flag pit stops. Has fallen to fourth right now after leading laps a little bit earlier on, though. This time, it's not going to be the race leader who's the first to come down pit road. Joe Hasser can't get to the pit lane entry. It's Goke on the inside of the racetrack. Fakes him up with the side-by-side fight. Woes it way down and close, but I think he got it stopped in time.
Yeah, and Hasser stays out. His Evan, we all of a sudden we're at the halfway point of this race. Where did the time go, my friend? These guys are just burning it down here tonight in the Irish Hills of Michigan.
So Goat comes in. He made up a lot of time last time, but a pit lane, no problems. Gets up on the jacket to get service done. Joe Hasser, this time coming through quarter number 4, was way up high. He'll come down. I almost think that was almost a fake out, though, that we saw from Goat, Sean. Put to the inside on Hassert, so if Hassert wanted to, he couldn't pit, and then diving down at the last second was Goke. Does that one lap advantage give him anything? He's off the pit lane just now as Hassert comes in for service.
Yeah, and Joe's in, and I got to tell you, man, he was awful close there at the line coming in. That car came in really hot. I sure hope he didn't get hit with a penalty there. Hard to tell here from our vantage point, but he is away, so I don't think he's serving any penalty at this point. But nice pit for Joe. He got in smooth, got into his pit box perfectly right there, and makes a great exit. He's back on track. We'll have to see how that strategy plays out for Goke there. It will be an interesting battle to watch. We know at this point these guys can make it on one more stop. Goke splits it through the middle.
And that was closer than I'm sure he would have liked had the split between Joe Hassert and Ricky Harden. But back to the top spot goes Jonathan Goke. Not the current race leader. You see, scored in 11th, 10 drivers in front of him. Yet to come down pit road, but this isn't exactly the similar situation what we saw after the first cycle of pit stops. Joe Hassert trailing. Can he catch him? Can he pass him again in time for the one more third stop on the race? That would be the final one on the evening. No surprise that it's Corey Connor up at the front of the field, Sean, that's staying out. He stayed out the longest out of any drivers on that first cycle of pit stops, doing so the same tonight, still out there on lap 54.
Yeah, well, he is definitely on a different strategy. The car right behind him, 4 seconds back, Ian Adams, he's coming in. Corey Connor looks to keep that car out on the track. I'll tell you what, that strategy not looking too bad right now. I mean, we'll see. We know he's got to come in. We know he's going to have to make one more stop. But right now, man, he has put some separation on the field by staying out here.
The 3-car of Adams coming down that last time by. Now Corey Connor going to be coming down the pit lane this time by on lap number 55. Taking a look back, though, Jonathan Goke, he's got pressure from behind. Right now it's scored as the battle for 8th on track, but this will cycle through to the race lead now with 46 laps to go. That time by, Hassert to the inside. He'll make it side by side down in 1 and 2. Car, though, getting tight. It pushes up the hill. Goke could use the run up top to stay in front.
And our former leader there, Corey Connor, he is in the pits and getting a fast pit stop there. I'm sorry, but looking at the battle up front here, Galvin and Anzaldo still fighting, and now Anzaldo making the call. He's coming in.
So those drivers continue to wait and then cycle down pit road. Corey Connor going to rejoin the racing surface. Jonathan Goke on the outside. This time, not going to be able to hang on to it, though. Clear down low is Joe Hassert. Up with the crossover, using those 18 degrees of banking to his advantage. Back to the bottom and back to the race lead goes the 08 of Jonathan Goke. They'll take it over that time at a 4. Again, we'll see this. They can make a pass whenever they feel like it for the first 5 laps, but eventually that car's not going to be able to hold it out wide open for the whole run. Who will be in front when that point happens? It's 2 for 2 right now for the Joe Hassert camp. Looks to the inside yet again. This battle right now for 3rd on track. Going to become for 2nd, though, as George Anzaldo exits the pit lane. Jason Galvin comes down, and he's now out and away. These two will cycle to the race lead at the stripe, and it's Hassert on the inside yet again.
Yeah, and Big Joe really, I'll tell you, this is a spirited battle tonight, these two. Going to be fun to watch down the stretch here. I just hope that they can I hope they can just keep it together and stay off of each other. I would certainly hate to see it end in disaster because they are putting on one heck of a show right now. Looks like they're coming up on who is that? Mark Goodwin up there in front of them. They're going to have to hopefully. No, that wasn't Mark. I'm sorry, I can't. I missed that. Was that Alfred Shepard they're coming up on there? Yeah, Alfred Shepard up in front of them there. And hopefully Alfred does a good job of just getting out of the way and letting those guys get by. Certainly doesn't want to become a factor in their race here at this point.
Battle for fourth just behind the race leaders. You see Corey Connor has it. Joe Branch wants it. Branch was fourth before the pit stop, Sean, but if he can't complete the pass, I'm sure he'll be able to get around him because, again, these cars are so good on fresh tires and full of fuel. They can do whatever they want. You see Branch go to the inside, but if he can't hold on to fourth, and Corey Connor does evidently win this battle eventually, that would mean that, again, Branch continues to lose spots every time he comes down the pit lane. Jonathan Goke, your race leader. Can he do it this time? 0.2 of a second between P1 and P2. Starting to form a gap, though. Has to take a modified entrance into quarter number one. Loses a lot of speed down the back straightaway, though. But I think Hassard's starting to fall a little bit too far back. Did Goke win this battle? We'll have to see.
Yeah, well, the question is, can Goke be the one that pulls away? Gets a little separation right now. I got to be honest with you. I don't know if Joe's going to let that happen, but the lead car, we've seen that a couple of times tonight, can seem to get away for just a little bit, get a little bit of that clean air in front and behind for about 5 or 6 laps. But Joe not giving up yet. He is actually starting to close that gap now a little bit, Evan.
He's keeping a modest, just 0.3 of a second. Separate the top two cars on the racetrack right now. Continuing to work around that lap machine out on the outside of the racetrack. Alfred Shepard not a factor in this one. First driver 1 lap down in 22nd spot. Hassard's trying to make the moves. He's following behind the 08 machine. He's making the arc into the corner, doing everything he needs to. The car, though, may not just be able to stay full out. Stays right up there in turn 1. That's really where Goat was making up a lot, Sean, but I don't think that he's keeping that pedal all the way down because it's killing him on exit.
Yeah, it is. And, I talked about it in the pre-race that throttle management was going to be a big deal. Hey, I'm back here watching this battle right now with Tony Schowen and Kristen Nelson. Schowen really having trouble getting around Nelson right now. Looks like he's going to be able to pull it off now as they go down below the stripe there. But yeah, that was awful close. And here comes Goat just behind them. He gets under Nelson, and now he's working on Schowen. Got to be careful here. Both of those cars didn't look like they were handling too well. So Goat's going to have to be really careful through here, and so is Big Joe, for that matter. We see Big Joe now get just below Schowen there through the turn. Can he pull off the pass? We'll have to see. It's going to be close, but now Schowen getting a nice run off the turn, and Goat still going across there, your leader.
Close call for your race leaders. Almost problems in front of them with Kristen Nelson. Nothing comes from that, and Schowen does drop back behind the race leaders in that number 31 machine. So now he'll become the first driver, 1 lap to the negative. Hassard has a big advantage when they find lap traffic. That's where the 11 machine doing very good right now. Take a look back, though, for P4 as the leaders start to slowly get further and further apart as Hassard gets real tight at quarter number 4. That battle rages on behind them. Corey Connor, the upper hand, this time by Joe Branch 5th. At the start-finish line. Branch again, though, started this race up on the top 3 spots on the inside of row 2, led laps early, but lost a handful of spots on the first cycle of pit stops and was 4th before coming down just about 15 laps ago. Now struggling to hang on to that spot. Corey Connor, a thorn in his side, right back down low.
Tell you what, right now, the safest position on the track looks to be Tony Lurcock. About 2 seconds off our 2 front cars, and got about 5 seconds between him and Corey Connor, who's fighting with Joe Branch right now, and Dan Garrett hanging in there. But Lurcock just sitting all alone right now in 3rd place, having a pretty comfortable run, to be honest with you. Tell you what, he's looking at a podium right now if he can just play his cards right, see if he's got this pit strategy figured out. Honestly, if he bring that car in here in about 10 laps, he'll be good to go to the finish.
Yeah, that HMB Motorsports number 42, we talked about him too in between that first and second stop of green flag pit stops. He's all alone. He's 2 seconds off of the race leaders. Now, though, 4 seconds ahead of the next car closest to him. I'd much rather take a 3rd shot maybe and just be able to ride around all race long than be in a situation like you look at for fourth, like Corey Connor, Joe Branch are continuing to just be all over each other, because when you're by yourself and you have that big gap, Tony Lurcock is in the best position to keep his car clean. When you're in a battle with somebody, you know, the car can be extremely different from turns 1 and 2 on lap number 67 than it is on lap number 68. Somebody goes to your inside, that car gets tight. There's not a whole lot you can do to get away from it. So I'm sure Tony Lurcock enjoying the clean air from third. Goke, though, has won this battle up at the front of the field. He opens it up to half of a second. That's about what Hassert had gained on Goke both times so far tonight, between the start of the race and the first set of green flag pit stops, and between that first set of pit stops and the second. Looks like Goke wins this battle. That means that this final stop could decide things. Does that mean if you're Joe Hassert, Sean, you might pit a lap early, try something out?
I tell you, maybe not a bad idea. Riding back to Chris Stouffer right now, the number 7 machine, the Fuzzy's machine. And, you know, Chris having a pretty decent run here, quietly has worked his way up to 9th place. He started 18th tonight. He's in the hunt. I mean, he's got Krahula and Daigle all in front of him right there, just about a second in front, but he's got plenty of space behind. Ian Adams almost a full 3 seconds back there. And, you know, I got to be honest with you, Stouffer, again, just a bit of a surprise tonight, really showing some strength here. Not a bad car. Krahula, the car in front of him, I mean, we watched him a couple times tonight. Didn't have a great qualifying run. He finds himself up in 8th right now, fighting with Pierre.
And we look on board with the driver that runs right now in 7th position. Pierre Daigle rides in P7. It's up 1 spot from where he started, and the team nailed it on board camera. Impressed with him, Sean, and as well Dan Guerin. They both made up spots. They're both in a single-digit running position. They've both been quiet all night long. Although this hasn't been an overly hectic race, green all the way since the drop of the green flag. Now 70 laps ago. Sometimes minding your P's and Q's, not a bad approach.
Not bad at all, and tonight that looks to be the play. I'm still on Stouffer, man. He's making a run around Krahula right now, looking to take that 8th spot away, and he does it. Next car ahead, Pierre Daigle. Watch out, that Monster Energy machine is under attack right now from the Fuzzy's machine. And, man, this could be a good battle right here coming off the turn. Stouffer really got it hooked up right now, obviously taking care of those tires. He had that nice run back there by himself, and he's able to save it up a little bit. Daigle's been up here fighting with Krahula, and those cars, quite honestly, a little used up right now. Not quite as used up as Stouffer is. I mean, we know these guys are going to be contemplating that next pit stop here, probably within about somewhere about the next 8 laps or so. Almost trouble ahead of them, though, Evan.
And here comes the final round of stops. Jonathan Goke, how about the short pit at 28 laps to go, Sean? He comes down from the top spot. So far, the short pit has been the play to do, and that takes away Joe Hassert's court of attempting to try to do anything. You're not going to have a lot of traffic in and out of pit road. That's a great call, I think, if you're the driver of that machine, because we were talking about how Hassert might pit early, Sean. Everybody's come down right at the quarter distance mark. That's in still 3 laps from now, and see there, Hassert has some lap traffic to work around in the pit road. That's going to hurt him. I think that's a great call from Goke.
Man, I'll tell you what, Blumenthal right there almost got Big Joe there, and Big Joe questioning right now whether Vince called that pit in there, and Joe not too happy about having to fight with that traffic. Go
overshot his stall
advantage.
again, second time tonight.
Yeah, Joe doesn't need that right now. That's a tough break,
And
man.
I believe,
Go.
okay, it looked like he got a penalty too, Sean, but I think he'll get away with it. But 2 times tonight, plus pitting a lap later, I think that may be the final nail in the coffin. We'll have to see. Here goes Goke up on the high side, and nowhere near speed is Joe Hassert. Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye is right. Joe's going to need a lot of help at this point. Boy, that's a lot of time lost right there. Hate to see that for Joe, but man, I'll tell you what, if anybody can do it, Big Joe Hassert can. Maybe Jesse Vincent, but he ain't with us tonight, so look for Joe to maybe get that back. We'll see. It's going to be tough to do. Goke is got that thing opened up again. He's up to full speed, 229 miles an hour into the turn.
And we'll see the interval at which he needs to make up. Scored in 16th that time by the start-finish line, but about 2.4 seconds or so the difference between those two drivers. If you don't have a caution, that's going to be pretty difficult to make up, considering you stall out at just half a second back once those tires begin to get wear on them. Not to mention as well, this track has been changing from the start, and all these green flag laps, Sean, we're getting the maximum change and rubber down on this track as you could get, because we haven't slowed them down at all.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's so many different lines being run by these guys. You start to wonder where all the rubber is, and I think all the bad rubber, the stuff you don't want to get into, is going to be down low and up high. And well, as we'll see the tires start to run out on this longest run of the race for some of these guys that's short pitted, it will be interesting to see how the car handles getting into the last 5 or 6 laps of this race.
Right now, Corey Connor continues to lead the Autism Awareness 200 at MIS. Not to the point where he could strengthen this one out for a 2-stop strategy, but he's come down about 3 laps later than everybody else every single time down pit road. That means that he's probably due right now at lap number 78. Robar's Branch, some of the names that are still out there on track, 2nd and 3rd. Robar's right now is still out there. Branch still out there in 3rd. Once they come down pit road, after Branch actually just now getting up to speed, it'll cycle Goke up to 2nd, and Joe Hassert's going to eventually try to find himself back up to 2nd position at the moment. But Corey Connor running his own race right now, and it's an interesting scenario, Sean, because he started in 13th. It's not like he was way back there. He had a fast car, but again, I still think that short pit strategy was the way to go tonight, and almost a self-inflicted gap that he's put on himself by staying out this long every time.
Yeah, and I can tell by the amount of time that he's lost from that last pit stop. I mean, he's lost to Goke by staying out. He's lost almost 10 seconds, Evan. So that's going to be really tough to overcome. It really strategy I thought earlier it might work if he could keep the speed up, but he's had to work with just maybe a little bit more traffic. He's making the call, and Corey's coming in now, going to bring that Tiger machine in, get that service one last time, try to make a run here to get to the finish, but he's got Goke 25 seconds behind him. I don't think he's going to be able to get that pit stop done that quick.
25 seconds, and he was losing half a second every single lap prior to him coming down pit road. He'll give up the top spot. Jason Robar's the lone soul left yet to come down. The DuPont that about to finish his machine hard on the brakes in turn number 4. He'll duck to the safety of pit road yet again, hit the pit lane speed of 55 miles an hour at the cone, and that officially now wraps up 3 cycles of green flag pit stops. Jonathan Goke, the man on top of the pile, and it is by 2.4 seconds back to Joe Hassert. Hassert had the race lead early, lost it after the first cycle of pit stop. Sean got it back. Same thing happened the second time, got it back, but lost it towards that stretch of that final 3rd pit stop, and that mistake on the pit road, maybe the miscue of coming down with lap traffic, but really, I have to, again, give props to the strategy play by the 08 machine. Kind of flustered Joe, I would assume, because I'm looking at this saying that when they were on lap 72, I'm thinking a short pit, maybe lap 74. Throwing it out of the water there for the 08 machine to come down 3-4 laps early. The 11 kind of gets a little bit flustered. He makes a mistake, and now he finds himself in this gap. Lurcock, though, again, still in 3rd, Sean. Your pole sitter hanging tough.
He is hanging tough, but I tell you what, I'm gonna give a shout out to Big Joe Hassert here. I got to tell you, I thought maybe he'd be a little bit further back. He is in striking distance, Evan. Okay, there's still time to get this done. He's only just over 2 seconds, and you know what? I got a feeling about this one. We'll see, but battle for 6th position right now. Just a gaggle of cars right there. Grahula holding on to 6th right now, but man, that is a battle. He's got Howard Livingston right in front of him, laps down, 23rd place. But Grahula fighting for 6th. He's got Stouffer right behind him. Those two are locked in a battle. Pierre Daigle also there fighting for 8th and 7th place.
So for one of the names that has been making charges forward again, this time to the inside of the racetrack, going to get around a lap machine, that time by Howard Livingston. Up on the top side, going to be the one going the wrong direction. And he gets up there trying to catch Krahula. He's been chasing that number 4 machine since about the halfway point in this Autism Awareness 200. And now really trying to get one final push to catch up just one more spot. And not all that far in front of them. Look at a 2-wide battle, 2 rows deep. Corey Connor in 4th is working around the lap machine right now. So is Joe Branch. So is James Krahula. They're going to catch this gaggle of cars. That's about 50% lead lappers, 50% lappers.
Yeah, and the traffic is real right now. All of a sudden, in the last 15 laps of this race here, and we've got everybody fighting. These cars were so spread out at one point, and now they've all found their way back together after that cycle of pit stops, Evan, and it's produced some interesting racing here up to the front.
And 2-wide race it again closer to the front of the field, and you follow Krahula through all of this. Not only is he trying to get going because Chris Stouffer's catching him, but he's trying to find a way through all the traffic. He'll go to the inside and Alfred Shepard. Shepard has done a great job all night long of staying out of the way of these race leaders. He started 27th. He's up to 21st, 1 lap down. A good run for the 13 machine. Not going to be enough, though, on a defensive for Krahula. To the inside goes Chris Stouffer, side by side for P6. Less than 15 laps to go.
Less than 15 laps to go, and Big Joe is closing, Evan. He's put that gap down to just over 2 seconds right now. It's going to be tough, but man, there's still time. Still time. Goat's going to have to, well, he did. He just battled with some traffic there. Almost got contact with Jack Bogan there. That was awful close. Jack's got to probably be feeling, well, probably not feeling too happy about that right now. He was really close. That had to make him really nervous. Nervous was the word I was looking for, as we see Goat now making his way up to Jason Robarge. Hopefully he can pull this pass off just a little bit better than the last one.
Jake Wright down and now out of pit road. The driver of the 27 was in 11th position. Championship leader into tonight. It's going to be a sub-top 20 run. Looks like he may be on par for about 22nd place as a result after coming in here as one of the strongest drivers so far through 7 races. Krahula 3 wide. Look at all of this. On the outside is Joe Branch. 2 sets of lap cars with Ricky Harden against the fence and Tony Schoen. And Branch going to get the spot in all of that. And now he works around Pete Edwins to the bottom.
What a battle, man. Krahula just throwing it in there, man. Having a solid run tonight. 6th place. Gotta love it, man. And Shallon looking to the inside of Krahula there. And looking pretty good, actually. He's able to really dive that car down in there. Keeps it low on the track, side by side with James Krahula. And look out, the Fuzzy's Taco Machine of Chris Stouffer right there in the mix. He's finding his way to the outside of Shallon now. Krahula starts to pull away.
James Krahula fighting to hold off Chris Stouffer, but in recent laps just trying to catch back up to Joe Branch, in which he will not do so. Branch, though, does lose that spot to Corey Connor eventually. That means another spot to the negative, now down 2 from the start. But again, this was a car that was right up there with Goat, right up there with Joe Hassert. I feel like he's got to be disappointed that things just did not correlate to a car that could battle for the race win here late. He's in 5th position, and if they continue to fight behind him, he should be pretty good. It's Stouffer to the outside of the racetrack, that time down into 1. Krahula holds the preferred lane down low, but the outside on older tires. Big run coming off the corner. Stouffer going to take back P6.
Yep, I'm going to take us back to the front of the field here real quick. You know, it's down to 1.645 right now there, Evan. 1.670, so it's still in reach. How many laps does Joe need to catch him? Time might be running out, I'm afraid. It doesn't look like there's any traffic that's going to be a factor here with just under 8 laps to go right now.
It will take 8 this time by. Here's the lineup in front of Jonathan Goke. You got George Anzaldo, Jason Robarge, Robert Blue in the next 3 cars. He'll catch at least one of them But the good news for the driver of the 08 machine is that he is not in traffic. They're just one of them at a time. They're not 2 wide, they're not 3 wide, assuming they stay out of the way and he doesn't have any sort of close call like we saw a couple of laps ago, which can happen at any point. He should be okay. Doesn't have enough of a gap, Sean, to just sit behind and not want to pass George Anzaldo. Sometimes you'll see a guy, he'll be conservative. They don't even want to pass that car. They'll just sit behind him. But with Hassert closing that gap to 1.6, he'll have to do something when he gets to the driver of the 79 machine.
Oh, boy. Peter Edwin's making it really tough for these guys to get by right now. And, boy, Stouffer really had a fight getting by him. They were wheel to wheel, man, and so close. Edwin's still fighting, sitting in 18th place, trying to just hang on at this point. But Schoen and Stouffer trying to battle. Edwin's almost, man, so close to the rear wing there. And Schoen coming to the inside. He's going to have to watch out. Edwin's looking a little squirrely right there. And he gets out of the pedal. That car took a real serious push for Edwins. He had to get out of it. Looks like Krahula now going to try and make his way underneath Peter Edwins.
And what you see there is that James Krahula on the inside of Edwins. Edwins is fighting with Schoen for a position. Both of those drivers are 1 lap down. That's a fight for 18th. That's why you see that bright orange machine up front and then that car just a little bit further behind of Pete Edwins there right behind him. They're fighting for a spot, which is why I don't think they're just getting out of the way and pulling over, which has made things really dicey for Pierre Deigel in 8th, for James Krahula in 7th. Chris Stouffer, though, not complaining because somehow he'll end up with P6 through all of that, getting by all of it.
He did. He managed to get away, and looks like Krahula is going to be able to get away now. He dips under Peter Edwins there and then slides back right up in front of him there, so he stops the run. And maybe Krahula can get to Schoen here in the closing laps of this race. Not sure. Schoen having quite a run right now. So he makes his way under, I think that's Bluthenthal right there. So good on him. And yeah, some funny stuff coming over the radio right now.
Darren continuing to fight with Deigel back a little bit in the pack. Pierre Deigel sits right now behind us side by side. Pete Edwins, James Krahula, both of those drivers to the inside. Vincent Bluthenthal showing how it's done, getting all the way up against the fence, staying out of the way, letting all of those lead lap cars go through and go by. Going to be 3 laps to go this time by. Jonathan Goke has now caught George Anzaldo. The 6 machine may finish in the first car 1 lap down spot. How much trouble does the 08 have getting this pass done, though?
Ooh, I don't think he'll have too much trouble. I think I mean, well, I don't know, man. George is a fighter, man. I got a feeling, you know what, I'm going to second guess all of that. George is not giving up that spot. So Goke better be happy sitting back there. Big Joe's starting to fall off. He's back to 2 seconds off pace. So really, all Goke has to do is just really let George keep his lead lap here. I don't think George is going to give it up, Evan.
Well, it looked like Goke got there, checked up, lost a lot of speed. Really, it's only going to cost him 1/10 of a second. 2 laps to go at this point. If we get a caution before the white flag, this race would end under a caution flag condition. Goke, though, may not have to force the pass because just before he caught up to George Anzaldo, Sean made up 4/10 of a second on Hassert. The gap was 2 seconds all the way to the outside of the racetrack. Little close call there as Anzaldo comes down the hill, side by side at the white flag.
Oh, I don't know. Is George going to try and take it back here? We'll see. I don't think so. He's going to let off and let him go. I really thought George was going to keep that spot, but that's all right. Not a bad run for George. I'm sure he would have liked better than that starting the 6th night. He had a great start.
Let him go.
Yeah, Goke let him by. There you go.
So Goke to the inside, back up top goes Anzaldo. No challenge though for the race lead. Goke had some traffic. Hassert didn't have the car to get the job done. He'll come to the checkered flag and the win at Michigan International Speedway. The autism awareness 200 to Jonathan Goke, back on track and back in victory lane here in this season. Very strong run for Jonathan Goke. He has had some strong races so far. Finally, though, he'll cap it off.
I cannot believe what we just saw. They just went 100 laps, green flag, Evan.
It's only been, what, 60 minutes maybe? And they did 200 miles at Michigan.
I'm just I'm gobsmacked, as they say right now. I just don't know what to say. I'm speechless.
When you see the clock at the top of the screen, 1 hour, 55, 56 seconds from the start of this one. Talk about a fast race. 3 cycles of green flag pit stops, countless passes for the race lead, probably a couple of hundred position changes throughout the field, and Jonathan Goke pulls not only the strategy card, but a little bit of hard racing coming up to that final cycle of pit stops to get in front, put that Pepsi Chevrolet in position, and ultimately seal the deal. He celebrates on the front straightaway. He's had strong runs. We haven't seen him at every single race, Sean, but it's good to see that he finally breaks through, gets it done.
Well, I'll tell you what, Staff Sergeant Goke is going to be deploying here pretty soon as he pulls in the victory half circle there, and so there's going to come a time here pretty soon where we're going to be without him. He's not going to be able to race with us here on Wednesday nights because he's going to be busy overseas. But tell you what, that's a great run by him tonight. Poor Joe, just those couple of mistakes that we talked about really cost him the race, because I honestly think he had a faster car than Goke and was really dialed in early, but the mistakes just killed him. And hats off to Tony Lurcock, man. He was just there all night, right where you see him, 3rd place. I mean, what a great run. I don't think he was ever under threat to lose 3rd place at any point. So great run for him. Just a fabulous race tonight, Evan.
I'm not sure if Tony Lurcock ever led a lap in this race after starting on pole position, but he fell to 3rd, and as you said, was a rock right there in 3rd position. Didn't go up, didn't go down, and he comes home on the podium tonight. It's Hassert in 2nd, and Jonathan Goke in his last race, Sean, in Season 3 before he goes on deployment, gets a checkered flag and a win in the LionHeart IndyCar Series. We'll talk with him, some of the top finishers, and more post-race from the Irish Hills of Michigan, coming up in just a moment. Back live at the virtual Michigan International Speedway, race number 8 of 18 on the Season 3 Championship of the LionHeart IndyCar Series on the Global Sid Racing Channel. In the books, the Autism Awareness 200 goes to Jonathan Goke. Start to finish, 100 laps, 200 miles, green flag all the way. Just 60 minutes to get the job done. The driver that wins this one comes from second on the grid. We knew he had speed, though, because he was the fastest in practice. Jonathan Goke going to top your post-race results. Let's take a look at the full running order in which they ran across the start-finish line to put the 8th race on the season in the books. Just behind in second was able to close the gap to 1.6 seconds. Joe Hassert has to settle for second after looking and eyeing for a trip to victory lane here tonight. Tony Lurcock is able to come home third in this one, just in front of Corey Connor, who makes up 9 spots to pick up a 4th place result. It was a P5 for Joe Branch. Chris Stouffer, 12th position gain to 6th spot. James Krahula, a great finish in 7th. Dan Guerin, a little bit quiet in the early stages, is able to sneak up for a P8. Deigel will fall 1 for a 9th place result, and Ian Adams rounds out our top 10.
And Tommy Ryan, what a run, man. 25th here tonight he starts, finishes 11th. Really scratched and clawed his way through the field. I believe he was second over in the ASRS race, so not a bad night for Tommy Ryan. Lots of racing, though, man. Jason Galvin, 12th tonight. Chris Lanini brings her home in 13th. Jason Robarge in 14th. Robert Bluen making up a little bit of ground. He started 21st, finishes 15th tonight. George Enzaldo, man, what a tough night for him. He started 6th and fell back and never really was able to get back up on that wheel again. He comes home 16th, finishes on the lead lap. Our first car, our lap down, is going to be Ronald Hacker in 17th tonight. Tony Showen, he'll come home 18th. Peter Edmonds, 19th, and rounding out your top 20, Howard Livingston in number 34.
And all of these drivers from here on out, again, laps down. 2 more drivers finished 1 lap to the negative. It was at 21st for Alfred E. Shepard and Jake Wright, championship leader. Going to take a hit after that one. Comes home in 22nd spot. 2 drivers come home 2 laps down. It was a 23rd for Jack Bogan and a 24th for Chris Nelson. Ricky Harden has to settle for a P25. Nober comes home in 26th. Vincent Blumenthal with the 27th. Michael Gray with the 28th. And again, that 888 machine was able to get back into this race after starting from pit road. Sean having multiple connection issues. Got back out there on track. Ends up picking up, though, just 1 spot without the factor of having a level of attrition in this race. Green all the way comes home in 28th. And Shotgun on the field in 29th. The 105 of Mark Goodwin. Going to talk to some of the drivers now and get their thoughts on how this one ended, and caught up on the pit lane now with the driver of the number 42 machine. It was a podium result for Tony Lurcock. Started on pole position, though, quickly got swamped, but third seemed to be a pretty safe place to be for the driver of the 42, Tony. First off, congrats to you. You come home on the podium tonight at Michigan at a race that went green all the way, but you kind of found yourself in no man's land, which I guess was a good thing to an extent with that 3rd place finish.
Yeah, I was pretty comfortable where I was at. I was hoping to get up there and race, so there'd be a caution or something later in the race and just save the car. I was reeling them in, but it was just too little too late without the help of a caution, and they had some awesome pit stops, and I couldn't keep up with them.
An interesting race at Michigan, nonetheless. At Michigan, you expect to be wild. You expect to see drama. We saw that. We saw 2-3 wide, but I don't think many people would have predicted this one to go green all the way through 3 cycles of green flag pit stops. Coming off of this race, second fastest in practice, you snagged the pole time with that 32.436. At the drop of the green, were you mentally prepared for this one to go 100 laps green all the way, or were you not only banking on a yellow there late, but were you almost expecting one to come eventually?
I figured that if we got spread out, we would go caution free for a while, but I figured somebody would bang into each other or go skittering off the track at some point. So I was hoping for a late caution, but I'm not surprised it went green. I just thought it would be maybe have one early, one late, and that would be about it.
Well, a really strong run for you tonight in race number 8 on the championship. Big race, though, coming up for the next round on the title. Not going to be in action next Wednesday night. How about next Sunday, though? We go to the Brickyard at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy 500. Tonight, 200 miles. In 2 weeks' time, 500 miles. What's your outlook on one of the biggest races, if not the single biggest event on the calendar?
I don't know, just survival. I look forward to Indy. It's not always been good to me, but I usually run top tens there. Hopefully, I can be around to the end, and we'll keep the Overdrive Graphics Toyota and alltravelsizes.com up there at the front.
We rode on board with you tonight throughout this race with that alltravelsizes.com onboard camera. You mentioned some of the sponsors there. We'll give you one more opportunity. Anybody else want to give a shout out to while we got you here on the podium?
No, just as a race sponsor, I hope the Autism Awareness 200 here, it brings attention to autism and a cure and treatment for that disease or disorder.
All right, well, Tony, we thank you for sticking around and chat with us again. Congratulations on the good run. Thanks for being the race sponsor tonight as well. Best of luck. We'll see you at the Brickyard, and if you're looking for a place to break through and get that checkered flag, Indy's not a bad place to do it. We'll see you then.
Well, thank you, Evan.
And again, that is your third place finish in tonight's Autism Awareness 200 with Tony Lurcock from the number one spot on the grid to come home in third. Going to pass the microphone down just 4 stalls to the driver who started in 5th, comes home in 2nd. John Ambrose, you are with Joe Hassard.
Man, I am with Big Joe Hassard. I was with him this afternoon, and I'm with him again here on the podium tonight. Man, Joe, you feel like maybe you left a little meat on the bone tonight, buddy?
I left a little meat. I slid through my pits twice, skidded in a couple times, got caught behind lap cars, pretty much the lap before my pit entrance every single time. So a little bit of bad luck, a little bit of mistakes, and cost me 2 seconds.
Man, I know how fired up you were, and I got to be honest, with about 19 to go and you were about 2.3 seconds down, I boasted that, hey, if anybody can do this, Joe can. And for a moment there, it looked like you were going to catch him, but that late traffic that you guys had to fight, I guess that really just kind of played into it, huh?
Yeah, I took a second off of that lead. I think I was 3 seconds back coming out of the last pit stop. And based on, the first couple runs, I knew I had a chance to make up the time. But once the tires started going away and we started hitting traffic, it wasn't going to happen unless he ran out of fuel, which he had about, he ran out of fuel in turn 1 after he crossed the finish line. So it was close, but yeah, it was a little bit disappointing, but glad to, take some points off the championship lead, and we got three guys in the top 4 in points now. So, it's been a good run. Hopefully I can find victory lane soon.
Yeah, well, it sure is good to see you back up front. I mean, we talked about that early in the race, how you had been missing from the front of these fields, and how it was, we were excited for you. And I tell you what, just a great run for that No Name Racing Toyota tonight. Big Joe, we go to Indianapolis next year in about 10 days. What do you think about Indy? Share your thoughts with us, my friend.
I'm usually pretty good at Indy. I'm excited for the race. I'm excited to have double points again, so I can really take another good chunk out if Jake stumbles again. But he's my teammate, so I'm always rooting for him too. I think I was in the top 5 last season. Got caught up in some traffic. Thought I had a chance to win that race, but it just didn't happen with the pit strategy. Just didn't play out for me there. So I think I'll have a good run. The rest of the season shapes up to be pretty good. A lot of mile and a halves. Pretty much, those are my strengths there. So the big ovals. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next Sunday.
Well, we are in this age of the dynamic track. Did you feel that tonight? Did it seem to be an effect out there?
A little bit. It's not as much as we thought. There's been a lot of. We've been just testing a lot. There's positives and negatives to each system. There was definitely, I think, in the old model, it was easier to get through 3 and 4. 3 and 4 doesn't have as much bakey as what it do. So there was a couple times, I'm sure you guys saw it, where I was darn near up in the wall in turn 4. So once you start losing it, it's really hard to get back. So
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference.
Well, I'll tell you, as the season goes on and as this dynamic track becomes a factor in these races, who knows? Maybe we can slip in a little bit of weather and deal with some moist conditions.
Oh, I hope not.
Well, Joe, hats off to you tonight, man. Really happy for you to see you up on the podium tonight. We'll see you in Indy in 10 days, sir. I know you'll be ready and looking for victory lane, and everybody else should be ready to follow Big Joe Hassert. And was certainly fun being on board with the Big Joe cam tonight. We'll see you down the road, my friend. Travel safe.
Thanks, Sean. Next week should be fun. Everybody thinks they can win. So
And there could only be one. So there you
exactly.
go. Right. All right, buddy. We'll see you next time. Evan has caught up with Staff Sergeant Goke in Victory Lane, baby.
It's going to come on his 5th start on the year, and as well, along with that statistic, his final start on the Season 3 Championship. The checkered flag goes to the driver of the number 8 machine, Jonathan Goke, your winner tonight in the Autism Awareness 200. First off, a big congratulations to you. Fighting there at the end, pit strategy and all of this, and I'll tell you what, we were talking, you took the lead from Joe Hassert twice coming out of pit road. He got it back from you the first time, didn't get it back that second time, so me and Sean are trying to set up some strategy, and I say, I think Joe Hassert needs to short pit, and then you pit 4 laps before and kind of steal my suggestion to him for strategy. You get the job done. It was a fast race car. How'd you do it?
Well, on that very last run, I knew I did my calculations. 29 laps was as fast as long as you could go. We were coming up on that huge pack of lap cars. I didn't want to go one more lap, so I pit real quick. I flew into the pits. It scared me. Oh man, it scared me. But just to go caution free with these guys and all the lap cars given away, and just the amazing battle I had with Joe. This is the perfect way in this season with LionHeart. It's outstanding.
No better way to walk off than on the top of the pile. Winner tonight in this one. You qualified in second, though. Really didn't take you much time to get up near the front of the field. And it was interesting because, as you said, we went green all the way. Lap 1 through lap 100. Mile marker 1 through mile marker 200. Up front, though, right on a fresh race car. So we saw it not only on the drop of the green flag, but as well coming out of pit road, especially with you in the 11 car fighting. You could do whatever you wanted with that race car. You could do a whole lot of things in the opening, maybe 5 to 10 laps. But eventually, those cars would get split apart, and having that advantage, do you think, going into the final cycle of pit stops, was that a big one, or were you still on edge knowing that he was not all that far back, and evidently your clean executions on pit road, he had a couple of mistakes, could have been the difference?
Well, I knew, like, on the first 2 stops, I was able to gain a second or two, because when we first came in, I was a good second and a half back, and I came out in front of him, so I'm like, I'm obviously a little bit more smoother on. So I know I don't, like on the second run, I wouldn't have to push as hard to even try to stay behind them or stay in front of them. I mean, so I knew I could pit behind them and still get out in front of them. And just like on that first run, like you said, we were getting all spread out, and I got stuck behind Branch a little bit, and I just took one swing and I went way low going into 3. I think it was like 20 coming to the pits, about 10 laps before we pit, and I was able to get around Joe. Joe Branch, and I tried to hunt down Hazard, and God, you can tell me I'm out of breath. This is amazing.
I'll tell you what, it's a P7, and you P7 in the points for you added tonight after getting the win. Talk about how there's 10 races left. Talk about how Indy's in 2 weeks. Not going to be a part of those. This was your final race for this Season 3 championship. But to know that not only did you win in this series with the level of competition, not only with the seasoned veterans, but drivers like yourself coming in here and bringing a lot of additional competition. Not only is it a good way to walk off with, but to get a win of this magnitude, a major race, Michigan, one of the bigger stops on the schedule, but to do it against these guys and to have to do it toe-to-toe, no cautions playing factors, just straight up with one of the seasoned veterans in the series, I'm assuming that has to make it a lot more special for you.
I couldn't imagine me going away for the rest of the season like this. I wanted to qualify good, just run up front and have a good showing for you guys in GSRC, and it's just it couldn't be any better. Like you said, Joe Hassert is one of the best that we raced against here, and you saw me and him went back and forth, had a little banter on the live chat. It was amazing to come up on top here. It was really outstanding. I can't believe it.
Everybody else gets set to take on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2 Sundays from now. However, you're getting shipped off on deployment. Let us know a little bit about that for those that are tuning in that don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm in the Air Force. I've been in. October 1st will be my 8-year mark. I'm a KC-135 crew chief. I fix planes. I can't really tell you guys where I'm going, but I'm going to be over there for about 5 months. I'll be hopping around different countries in the Middle East, just trying to take to the fight to those guys. I know you guys know about it on the news. Just got to go do my job. It's my dream.
We appreciate what you do, and we appreciate you for sticking around and chatting with us, Jonathan. Sponsors and shout-outs. We'll let you thank some people this time. You got to win. You're a winner in the LionHeart IndyCar Series. You'll walk off with the walk-off home run, we'll call it, winning tonight at Michigan, who powered that number 08 machine throughout the year, but not only that, through this victory here.
Well, first and foremost, I got to thank George and all the admins, Tony over at LionHeart, because you saw tonight we put on one of the best shows this season I've seen in a long time. So George, Tony, Jesse was doing some stuff tonight. It's awesome to drive for you guys. And I got to thank Dead Zone. I mean, they couldn't make it tonight. They've got other stuff going on, but like Alan, Dan, Sam, Ryan Lowe, all those guys over there, it's just George again. I mean, you saw it tonight. What a great series to be a part of, and I can't wait for season 4.
Well, again, thanks for sticking around and chatting, Jonathan, and thank you for what you do. Congratulations on the win. Best of luck and safe travels. Hopefully we'll talk to you soon, and we'll see you back on track sooner than later.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
That is your winner coming from Dead Zone Racing, the driver of the number 08 machine. Winner at Michigan, the Autism Awareness 200, Shauna, goes to Staff Sergeant Jonathan Goke. A winner tonight, Hollywood fashion walk-off win.
Yeah, walk-off win for sure. What a way to go out, man. Your last one's a victory, and well, let's face it, at a really competitive track, and boy, him and Joe really what just a classic battle between those two tonight. Would have loved to seen it right down to the wire, but I'll tell you what, we still got a great race. I don't know how many times in iRacing you can pull off what these guys pulled off tonight. 30 cars on the grid, and you go wire to wire for 100 laps at Michigan, where anything can and will happen all the time. Man, what a great race tonight! I'm worn out, man. I'm worn out just from watching it. My eyeballs are bouncing in my head right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, we come into this race 200 miles, one of the longer ones lengthwise that we see in this 2015 to Season 3 championship of the LionHeart IndyCar Series. It gets done in 60 minutes. I'm not sure how fast the Indianapolis 500 is going to be, and maybe outside of the season opener, outside of the season finale, just because a lot of points are on the line and the overall championship is on the line at Auto Club Speedway, this is the biggest race on the year, and it is going to be race number 2 on the Triple Crown Championship. That's going to be in 2 Sundays from tonight on the Global Sim Racing channel. Until then, though, duty to wrap things up tonight from Brooklyn, Michigan. Beautiful racetrack at MIS, and it put on one hell of a show that Goke finishes on top of the pile, getting the win. First time in his last race. Scripted no better. Do want to thank the people on our end of things, though, that make things possible for us to do what we do. A big shout out to iRacing.com, Motorsport Simulations LLC, as well as XSplit, Avra Media USA, and the Audio Technica Corporation, various softwares that allow us to stream these races week in and week out. A big thank you to the LionHeart administration team for George Ansaldo, Jesse Vincent, and Tony Lurcock. Additional thanks, as always, go to Dougie Beard for providing us with the camera sets that you see tonight, and for Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde for providing us with the music you hear in and throughout the broadcast. Their information is up on the screen. Give them some support for supporting what we do here at the Global Sim Racing channel. If you want more sim racing throughout the week, you can follow us online at globalsimracingchannel.com. There's a full broadcast schedule up there as well, though on social media. We have a Twitter that's at GSR channel, or through our Facebook page can be accessed via the link at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing channel. You'll take a look at some of the upcoming races. We got everything from NASCAR trucks to off-road racing and more. Sean, but what we want to know is, when do we see the LionHeart IndyCar Series back on track? There's no race on Wednesday, September the 30th.
Yeah, and the next one is well, we're gonna flip the script a little bit, and we're gonna show up on a Sunday, October 4th at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 3 o'clock to me here in the central United States. We will be at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana. Yes, that's right. Triple Crown race number 2, 200 laps, 2.5 miles. 500 miles of just absolute beauty. Can't wait to see it in the iRace for Gage Indianapolis 500. Man, oh, I can't wait to strap it on there that Sunday and get this thing going, man. It's gonna be a great one. And just real quickly before I let everybody go, the guys at No Name Racing wanted me to remind you, go to alltravelsizes.com, put in the discount code No Name, and you'll get a 10% discount on your purchase there at alltravelsizes.com. Evan, can't wait to get to Indy. Can't wait to be there with you, my friend. Travel safe to Indy, and I'll see you there.
Absolutely. Joe Hassert, he had the big Joe Camel, TravelSizes.com, Team Nailed It, Monster Energy, all partners for tonight's race. And again, Autism Awareness 200, a big thank you to Tony Lurcock for sponsoring the event. That does it. 8 down and 10 to go. The biggest race of the season is in just a couple of weeks, and we will see you then in Speedway, Indiana. Until then, on behalf of the entire GSRC broadcast crew tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, joined alongside by Sean Ambrose, and our director, I'm JD Ahmed. Thank you so much for tuning in. A big congratulations and a big thank you and best wishes to the driver of the 08 of Jonathan Goke. Walks off a winner in the LionHeart IndyCar Series. We will see you next Sunday night. It's just a little thing called the Indianapolis 500, and we'll see you then.